So today we're going to continue talking about section 1.3. So on the board you can see it says section 1.3 day 2. There are 3 days, so we have one more after today. Same goal though, the goal is to review the order of operations. The big thing that we're going to add today to our talk about the order of operations is exponents. So we did just a couple small examples with exponents yesterday. We're going to spend some time looking at examples with exponents, and then we're actually going to look at some problems that are a little bit more on the problem solving end of things. They make the homework a little more fun, I think. So hopefully you guys like them, and hopefully you have some time to finish your homework today in class. Does anyone need more time with this one? Okay. So we're going to start today just by talking about what it means to be an exponent. So I want you to write these problems down as we write them down. The good thing about exponents for most of you is that the calculator does it for you. You just have to learn where the exponent button is, so we'll spend some time looking at that today. If you are someone who hasn't invested in a calculator, then you're going to have to do these the old-fashioned way, so we'll look at that way as well. So the first one, we have 4 to the second power. The big number we call the base, that's the number that's going to be repeating. This is how many times it's going to be repeating. So this basically means I have 4 multiplied together twice. Or just 4 times 4. What is 4 times 4? 16. Very good. Now I want to take a second to look at that one in the calculator. If you have a calculator, there's a couple different ways you can type this in. You can do 4, and then a lot of you will see a button that looks like this, and then you type in the 2. Or some of you will have a button that it says like x to the y power or y to the x power. That's also a way to enter exponents, so you would hit 4, that button 2. Or another option, you'd hit 4, and then there's a button like this that says like x squared. Anytime you're taking something to the second power, you can just use that button. But any other power, you need to use either one of these. So take a second, locate the button, type it in, and see if you get 16. If you don't get 16, you need to raise your hand so I can come over and show you how to use it on your particular calculator. Alright, if no one needs help with that, we can move on to the next one. 9 to the first power. That means I have 9 how many times? 1 time, so the answer is just 9. 2 to the fourth power. That means I have 2 how many times? 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you just multiply from left to right. So I have 2 times 2, which is 4, times another 2, which is 8, times another 2, which is 16. Very good. Next I have 3 to the third power. That's like having 3 how many times? 3 times. So there's 1, 2, and 3. What is 3 times 3? No, 9 times another 3 is 27. Again, if you have a calculator, just use one of these buttons, depending on which version of the calculator you have. But remember, you can't use the x squared button unless it's an exponent of 2, so you wouldn't be able to do it on this one. Some calculators have an x to the third button, though, so then you could use that one. But either way, if you are not getting 27, you need to call me over so I can help you. All the calculators are different, so I would need to just look at your particular one. Alright, now, the next one's a special rule. Do you guys remember anything to the 0 power is? Nope. 1. Anything to the 0 power is the number 1. So like 100 to the 0 power is 1. 10,000 to the 0 power is 1. X to the 0 power is 1. It's a rule to memorize in math. I can give you a large explanation, or I can just tell you to memorize it. All right, last one on this slide is extremely important to look at because just like yesterday, where parentheses can really change things up, that applies here as well. When the negative sign is in parentheses and that whole thing is being squared, that means you'll have a negative 5 times a negative 5. Everyone agree with me? Which gives me what? Positive 25. Good. That is not the same thing as if you have it without the parentheses. If you have it without the parentheses, it's kind of like saying you're multiplying by a negative 1 after you're squaring the 5. You do exponents first. The only thing that's taken to the second power in this one is the 5. So that's like saying you have a negative, and then the 5 is the only thing that's repeating. So be aware of that. Again, the calculator knows this rule. If you don't put the parentheses, it should leave your answer negative. If you do put the parentheses, it should leave the answer positive. Check me if you don't. Believe me, some versions of the calculator aren't so good with it. That's why I recommend the one up on the board. I know it can handle these negative signs. But just be aware of that, and we will practice that all week long because that's really confusing for some people. But any questions before we move on? All right, let's see how this ties into the order of operations. So here is number 1. So same old order of operations as yesterday. We start with P, parentheses. So where would I start? What is 4 minus 1? All right, so I have 80 minus 3. You can leave it in the parentheses if you want. To the third power. Now I'm to the E, exponents. So here's an exponent. So what do I need to do? Three times 3 times 3, which is? 27. Good, we did that one on the last slide actually. And then you can do your subtraction. So what is 80 minus 27? 53 is our answer. Raise your hand if you have any questions. All right, here's the next one. Go ahead and write this down. For some reason, the PowerPoint makes some minus or negative signs smaller than the others, so I am just going to write this with just the normal size. I don't know why it made it smaller. Don't let it confuse you. All right, order of operations. I want to start with what? 4 minus 2. Yes, you want to start inside the parentheses. So we do 4 minus 2. Everything else you just copy down as it is. So we have the 52 plus 8 squared minus 3 right next to the parentheses, but instead of 4 minus 2, what am I going to write inside the parentheses? 2. And then to the third power. Very good. The next step I want to deal with the what? The exponents. You can work the exponents left to right. So I have 52 plus, what's 8 squared? 64 minus 3. Let's just do them on the same step since they're not going to affect one another. What is 2 to the third power? 8. 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4 times another 2 is an 8. Good. Any questions? That's really the only new step today. And it's not even really new. We talked about it yesterday. We just didn't look at a whole bunch of examples. Alright, so I did parentheses, I did exponents. Now I'm on what step? Parentheses, exponents. P-E, pen. Yeah, so we're on multiplication division. So we're back here. 3 times 8 is 24. So I have a minus 24. And now we're on adding and subtracting, so you can just work left to right. What does that give us? 116 minus 24. 92. I agree with 92. Anyone else agree? Very good. What questions do you guys have? All right, next. Alright, number 3, where do I want to start on this one? I don't see any parentheses, so what comes next? Exponents. So I didn't touch the 20, I didn't touch the minus, I didn't touch the 2, I'm keeping the multiplication symbol. But instead of 3 squared, what do I want to write? 9, very good. Then what? 2 times 9, which is 18, so I make that 20 minus, change that to an 18. What is 20 minus 18? 2. Very good. And what are your questions? No questions? All right, here's number 4. Remember, anytime you have a question with that big fraction bar, you need to simplify the entire top, then the entire bottom, then clean up the division. So if I wanted to do the order of operations on the top, where would I start? Yeah, the multiplication right here. What is 2 times 7? So I have 14 plus 4 on the top. And then I'm not even touching the bottom right now. Just leave it alone. Let's just finish the top. What do I get on the top? 18. Very good. Now let's talk about the bottom. What would you get on the bottom? 3. Yes, you can do 9 divided by 3. Now we're ready to do the actual division. That big long fraction bar, that's the last step you do. You simplify the whole top, you simplify the whole bottom, and then you divide. What is 18 divided by 3? 6. Very good. Any questions on these types of problems? I'm going to skip the next couple examples so I can show you what tonight's homework is going to look like. Everybody good so far? All right, let's jump ahead to these. So go ahead and write these down just how they are. A 2 with a space, a 4 with a space, a 3 equals 5. The directions say to fill in operations in parentheses to make the equation true. So I want to add things like addition signs, multiplication signs, parentheses, things like that in order to make these three numbers equal 5 when I follow the order of operations. Any ideas? Two times 4 minus 3. Let's see if that would work. So if I put a multiplication symbol here and a subtraction sign here. Order of operations tells me I do what? Multiply first or subtract first? Multiply first. What is 2 times 4? 8. And what is 8 minus 3? 5. So is this correct? Yes. Very good. There are sometimes multiple ways to do these. Did anyone find another way? Yes?
I did 2 minus 4 plus 3.
2 minus 4 plus 3. Is this going to work? What is 2 minus 4? Are you sure?
Negative. Oh.
This gives us a negative 2 plus 3, which is a positive 1. So that's close, but just be careful about your signs there. That is totally fine to bring that up. Close. That's why I always write it out and then I go back and double check, because sometimes in your head it looks a little different than it actually does when you write it down. Anything else you want to try on number 7, or you want to jump to 8? We can jump to 8. Anyone have any idea how we're going to make this one work? So 7, 6, 8, and I want a negative 7. Yes, ma'am?
7 minus 6.
Okay, so 2 minus signs. So this is all in the addition and subtraction step of the order of operations, right? So we just move left to right. What is 7 minus 6? 1, and what's 1 minus 8? Negative 7, so this one works. Anything else that you think might work? Now, if you do something and you think like, oh, if only I could make that step go before the other step, how do you move something up in the order of operations? You put it in parentheses. So if you ever are close but the order's a little off, add parentheses. That's totally a legal move. Yes, do you have another one?
Yeah, I got it. I put 6 and 8 in parentheses, put a plus sign in between them.
Okay, so 7
Then
minus parentheses 6 plus 8. Okay, so on this one you'd have to do the parentheses first. What is 6 plus 8? And what is 7 minus 14? It's negative 7. So does this work? Yes. If she left the parentheses out, would it work? No, it would not. You'd end up with 9. So here the parentheses do matter. So again, I would write out what you think's going to happen and then go through it step by step following your parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, add, subtract, and see if you end up where you thought you would. Either one of those is fine. Very good. Questions? All right, let's look at these two. So same numbers, 2, 4, and 3. 2, 4, and 3. One time I want it to equal 14. The other time I want it to equal 3. So I'll just give you guys some time. If you find one that works on either one, we can do 10 first. We can do 9 first. It doesn't really matter. Something for 9, okay.
I have 2 plus 4 times 3.
Okay, 2 plus 4 times 3. So if we were following the order of operations, would we do the addition first or would we do the multiplying first? The multiplying, what is 4 times 3? So we have 2 plus 12. Does that give us 14? Yeah, so this works. Any other ideas on that one? If you come up with one, you can share it later. Again, I'm not too particular on how much time we spend on each of these, as long as we find something that works. Okay.
I put the 4 and 3 and a minus between them.
Okay, so the 4 and 3 in parentheses with a minus sign, all right?
And then plus 2.
And then a plus right here. So according to the order of operations, what do I have to do first? The parentheses, so that gives me a 1. And what is 2 plus 1? 3. Very good. So this works. Is there another way? Yes, ma'am. The same thing without the parentheses. Let's see if that works. So that would, we just go left to right if there were no parentheses, so that'd be 6 minus 3. Does it still work?
Yes.
Very good, either one. I don't think I don't see another way. Does anyone else have one? All right, questions on these types of problems. They make, kind of a fun twist on the order of operations while still practicing. At least I think so. All right, here's the next type you will see on your homework. These, though, have like infinitely many answers. There's so many different ways you could do this. But now I give you the operation, and I say fill in some numbers and make this equal 9. Now, when I do these, I actually like to think of it like backwards. So, like, what are 2 numbers that add to 9? 5 and 4. Okay, so let's put a 5 up here. Right? And then she said we have to add a 4. So can you think of a division problem that would give me an answer of 4? It's 2 numbers that divide to give me 4.
8 and 2.
8 and 2? So I didn't quite hear what you said, but 8 and 2 works. All right, now let's follow the order of operations from the very beginning and see if it works. Would I do adding or division first? Division, what's 8 divided by 2? We just said it was 4. And what's 5 plus 4? 9. Very good. There's lots and lots and lots of different ways to do these. I encourage you not to be a 0 person. There's always some guy that'll just like fill everything in with zeros. Like 9 plus 0, divide by 0, subtract 0, minus 0, add 0. Like, okay, that's boring. It's correct, but it's boring, all right? So I encourage you not to be that person. Any questions on this one? All right, let's try one more, and then I'm going to give you guys your homework. So we have blank minus blank times blank equals 10. So I won't give you too much guidance. Just let me know when you think you have it. Paying attention to the order of operations, I know I have to do that multiplication first. So if you're like me, you'd kind of work backwards from there.
This stuff will be on our homework?
Yes, this is what your homework's going to look like. You think you have one? 11 minus 1 times 1. So order of operations tells us we have to do which step first? The multiplication. What is 1 times 1? 1. And what's 11 minus 1? 10. So this does work. Did anyone think of another one? Another one I see a lot on this one is like, what would you subtract from 20 to get a 10? Okay, so I want the back part to equal 10.
Oh.
So you could do like 10 times 1 or something like that. 1's an easy one. Or you could write it like 5 times 2 or something like that. So again, there's like lots and lots and lots of solutions for these. It's just sort of up to you and your approach. Do you guys have any questions?